There's more activity in southeastern New Mexico right now. The Albuquerque Journal reports this week that production is up in the state's oil patch. It's a recovery, but production certainly isn't what it was before. So let me start with you. Do you think this latest news on oil and gas, so goes that industry, so goes New Mexico is the old saying, but we've had a bit of a bump. Are we out of the woods on this? Is this was what you're reading?
No, I think if we say to ourselves, we're out of the woods on this, that the money's going to start rolling in again, et cetera, we're not protecting ourselves against future downturns.
Right.
If we're too short-sighted and we're not looking ahead, then I think that we open ourselves up to greater issues. And I also think that while the oil and gas production seems to be improving in the state, I think we have to continue to focus on renewables, which are, as the name indicates, they're perpetual.
Right.
We see, I think, interesting projects that are happening throughout the state involving solar, some involving wind. I still just continue to believe that there are limitations, even with what we're hearing is an increase in potential production in the Permian Basin.
I'm glad you mentioned that. We're going to get to that in a little bit, the renewable bit. I think there's something there that worthy of discussion as well. Giovanna, the idea that we rise and fall, no pun intended, on the price of oil, it really, there's a clear line where if we fall below it, we've got big problems, we rise above it. But it's sort of a passive thing. It's not in our control. You know what I mean? That's what frustrates a lot of folks around here, that, if there's an oil glut, suddenly we're in big trouble. If OPEC decides they're going to release, you know what I mean? Suddenly we've got big problems too. And the technology, there's a lot of oil out there we're pulling out. We've got a lot of fuel out there to be had. Should we be happy about this? Or just cautiously optimistic?
Right. Well, definitely happy to have the revenues, right? Senator John Arthur Smith, the Senate Finance Committee Chair, has said, this could mean $25 million in revenues.
Right.
That's great, but it's clearly not enough, and it's barely just going to get us out of not being in another budget crisis. So I think it's good. I think we have to be, and again, oil and gas is our bread and butter, right, in a way, and we have to recognize that. At the same time, this has happened before. We have ups and downs all the time, and we have to really invest when we're on the highs, and then so that we can ride through those lows. And so we have to be investing in those things when we've got the revenues. And the first thing to be cut when we have a dip are social services, education, health.
That's right.
And so we, as a state, we need a longer term plan. And we can get into the details of that. A longer term plan with more diversification in our economy, for sure.
Exactly right. Marcia, one of the worries I have is again, I appreciate Giovanna saying that we've been through this before. And one of the things we've been through before is when it does start to rise, we turn our eyes away from other things. Go, oh, we're good now. It's back to some normalcy that we understand. We can get our arms around emotionally, and it feels like, well, this price point should last for a while. Let's just hang in there. But we have to make budget decisions in our state based on things that are going like this, up and down. Is that viable for the future? Look at the last 3 or 4 years. That's been a toughie.
This is definitely not sustainable. I mean, we've seen session after session that we have to do special sessions.
Right.
And again, that also costs money.
That's right.
And I'm not saying, throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's absolutely not it. We are, we need every job that we can absolutely get, every good paying job where people can succeed in this state. And these jobs are good jobs. But the thing is that we've already lived through what happens when things go bad, right? So why are we not preparing for the future? We really need to diversify. I really want to echo what Giovanna said, when we're up, that's when we need to start investing, and we should be investing in renewable energy because, like Sophie said, it's perpetual. We're one of the very few states in the country that can truly say we enjoy 360 days of sunshine a year. We should be leading the country in solar. And I'm not saying, to not keep looking for these types of jobs in the oil patch because they are needed, but we can't depend on it because we've seen over the last few years what happens when we depend on it. And again, even this upturn, it hasn't gotten us back to when we were prosperous.
That's right.
It's going to hopefully get us out of this red zone. So while it's wonderful news and we need to take all the wonderful news that we could get at this point. it's definitely not enough, and it's not sustainable.
Yeah, that's a good point. On the upside, though, the Permian Basin, as the research is showing us, as we're reading, is showing with new technology and able to reach these areas, we can get to what looks like a sizable reserve under the Permian Basin that could be a very interesting boon for New Mexico if you really think about it. I don't know, I don't have many friends down that area right now, but I know in years past I've talked to them about this. The excitement that can happen with discoveries like this is part of that industry, you know what I mean? And now there's investment coming. Some big players are putting some money into New Mexico, so maybe this might be even bigger than we might even realize at some level.
Oh, absolutely. And, I echo, Marcia's thoughts, everybody else's thoughts, as far as, this is our opportunity to do something. The oil and gas industry, extractive minerals, is just one particular focus. And technology will, it will help New Mexico's coffers, but it will also create some additional lawsuits as Texas says, hey, you can't take our oil. And, we're saying you can't take our water. So, it's an age-old issue, reborn again.
That's right.
And in full disclosure, we do have clients in the oil and gas as well as the renewables industry, but the thoughts are my own.
Fair enough.
And so, what are we going to do with this opportunity? And I don't think, that while renewable is a part of the solution, it's just that lifeline right now. And, this is a great opportunity, I think, for the state to really look at tax reform, to, get rid of a lot of the tax breaks that, really aren't helping to generate business, and to, really address what is a financial priority in this state. Now, unfortunately, we're heading into a gubernatorial election cycle, and, so I think that could derail a lot of those discussions.
Could.
But you know what? I think that's really a great opportunity for leadership.
That's right.
Because we're always going to be in an election cycle.
That's right. That's right.
We're always in an election.
That's right. Back to one of your original points about renewables. Interesting in the news, the Navajo Nation has a fairly sizable solar plant that's up and running, and we've got the Facebook thing coming. That's going to be a mondo solar situation. Renewables have a bit of momentum going right now, but let me ask you in this context, it's not the oil and gas industry's job to pay for renewables and move us forward. Their job is to take care of their business. So whose job is it to get renewables going here? Does the state need to make more investments? Do we need to make better deals with private people out there who want to invest, as Marcia says, take advantage of 360 of sunshine? Whose job is it to do this?
Yeah, I think everyone needs to participate, and we also need to recognize that the solar industry employed more Americans last year than coal did. We have to recognize that it, the industry is making progress. It does need to be supported. I don't know exactly what the mix should be and how it, who needs to pay for it, but I do know that it's something that needs to be looked at. And I just want to pick up on the point of the elections.
Please.
Because I do, it's really been bothering me, actually, the fact that every 2 and 4 years we're, in this election cycle where we don't ever take a long view and we never do any long-term planning, it doesn't seem to me.
Right.
In terms of where are we going as a state in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years? And so we really do need some sort of long-term planning council or commission that's not at the whim of elected officials who are running for office every 2 and 4 years. They have a specific job, a very important job, and we need long-term independent planning and policy planning so that we have a vision for New Mexico that's not dependent on our elections.
That's a good point. We'll wrap that there. When we come back to the line, we'll talk about the potential future of Spaceport America.